Hey guys, so in the previous video we discussed about the backstack concept of a stack navigator and why a stack navigator is called a stack navigator. Let's see those concepts in code and how we can actually use those concepts in our code, right? So let's quickly dive into our app. If I click on any of the anime component, we come to the screen and now the user has to click on this back button, which is the Android back button, to come back. What if I want to give user a back button here, that if the user clicks on this back button, then user comes back to the previous menu just like this, right? So in order to do that, we need to create a back button in our anime detail component. So let's quickly do that. So the place where we want to keep our back button is just left to this title, right? And if you remember, this title we placed using absolute positioning, right? So we again need to have an absolute positioned back button, right? So the way we are going to do is we will create an image component and we'll leave it, and what we'll do is we'll go to Google and we'll search something called as left chevron. So this left chevron basically represents a back button, right? This is how you see a lot of back buttons. So what we can do is you can click on this link visit, this will open this, and you can click on the PNG and you can click on free download. Once you have downloaded, what you need to do is you need to bring that file somewhere in your code, right? So I have kept this file in the screen directory and the name of file is leftchevron.png. So what I'll say is that I want to use an image component and I need to specify the source. Now previously we have seen that we can specify the source as URI in the case of remote URLs, right? Now since this is a static image which we already have in our code, what we can do is we can say the source prop requires, and we'll specify the path. Now since this anime detail screen and the left chevron are in the same directory, I'm saying we are on the same directory, I'll say left chevron.png, basically the file name. Now if I save this thing, you can see that okay, we have this button, but now this button is taking a lot of space, right? Because now this button is placed just after not, and first of all it's not a button right now, this image is placed just after this image, right? So we need to make it absolute just the way we did it for the title component. So we can start writing styles for the image, but the problem is if we start writing the image styles, we don't have the ability to have a press event on an image. So for that we can use a component called as pressable, which we have already discussed. Pressable is a component which can make any other component pressable if we wrap it around it. So now we will start defining some styles for this pressable, and we'll call the name of style as styles.back button container, and let's quickly define the styles. So I want it to be positioned absolute to what? Absolute to the container which holds this image. So what I'll say is I want to have a top of 25, I want to have a width of 30, I want to have a height of 30, and I'll also specify border radius as 15 because I want it to be rounded. And then I'll also want whatever is inside this button container should be aligned center in both the axis X and Y, that is in horizontal and vertical axis. So I'll specify justify content as well. And if I save this thing, okay, you can see that now it is absolutely positioned, but still it's overflowing, right? Still this is taking a lot of space. So for that, what we need to do is we need to define some style for this image also. So we'll say styles.back button image, and we'll say that we want a height of 20 pixel and width also of 20 pixel. Now you can see that there is a back button. It may not be very much visible. So let's give the background color to the back button container and say this as white. Now if I do that, you can see that we have this button here, but it is now very much like sticking to the title. So what we can do is we can come back to title, and we are now where the place where we are specifying that the title has to be left from the starting point with a value of 25. We can change this and let's make it 45. When we make it, you can see that there is some distance, right? Also what we can do is we can give a left to this also of 10 pixel. Now this looks pretty decent now, right? Now what we need to do is whenever the user clicks on this button, we want to go back, right? And right now we haven't defined any on press. So let's quickly define the on press. And in the callback, what we'll say, if you remember, we have a prop which every screen gets, which is called as animation. In fact, we get two props, animation and navigation and route. So we'll use the prop navigation and we'll say navigation dot go back, and we'll call this function. So just by adding this line, if we click on this button, right, we are able to go back. And the reason we are able to go back, because whenever from home screen we click on anime component, we go to anime detail screen, and the home screen or the home route goes to the stack. It goes and gets stored in the back stack. And when we click on this button, which essentially executes navigation.goBack, this navigation.goBack will remove the navigation of anime detail screen, and it will bring us back to the previous screen, which is home, right? Now this works, but there is an issue. What if we are trying to perform a go back in the place where there is nothing in the back stack? So in order to overcome that issue, what we can say is we can say navigation.can.goBack. And if this is true, then we will perform go back. So basically what we are doing here is we are checking if there is anything present in the back stack or not. If there are things present in the back stack, then we'll perform a go back operation, else we are not going to perform. So this will still work, because whenever we click on the anime component, the home route goes to the back stack and anime details screen route becomes the current route. And when we click on this button, it checks if is can go back true. So basically this can go back returns a boolean. If you hover over it, it will say it returns a boolean. Now since home route is already present in the back stack, this will return true, and eventually navigation.goBack will be executed. So this is how we can use the backstack programmatically in our code. Thank you guys. We'll be discussing more concepts in the upcoming video.